Hello friends, welcome to EduTap. I hope all of you would have fared well in the NABARD Grade A Phase 1 exam. We have received a lot of emails. People are really happy after their exam. But now it is right time to prepare for the next hurdle, that is Phase 2. So in this video I will be sharing with you 25 days study plan to prepare for NABARD Grade A Phase 2. Why 25 days study plan? The date is still not announced, right? But more or less whatever the date is announced, you will get around 25 days or maximum say 30 around 30 days. So rather than waiting for your result or waiting for the exact date to be announced, I think you should start your preparation immediately, because it's not like that you will get 3 months after phase 1, right? And many of you who would be thinking to start their preparation after the phase 1 results are announced, yes, you have every right to start after the results come. But I think if even if you think you have 25 to 30% chance of clearing phase 1, you should start immediately, because now every moment will count. Every moment, no, you will be able to say cover something that can fetch you some marks in the exam. Before I start with the strategy, let us have a brief overview of the pattern. We know paper 1 is descriptive English, in which there would be 3 questions. Those 3 questions can be no anything. Probable, it would be out of Pressy, comprehension, letter writing, report writing, and essay. So from these 5 things, they might ask any 3. It would be of 100 marks and time would be 90 minutes to be typed on keyboard, right, on your computer. Then paper 2 is ESI and ARD. I have taken this from the notification, but then there was a clarification after the notification that paper 2 is ESI and ARD. This has 2 parts, objective and descriptive. Objective part consists of 30 questions, 30 minutes, 50 marks. Rest 50 marks would be descriptive paper, in which there would be 6 questions. Out of that, you would be able you would be you would have to attempt 4 questions. 2 questions would be of 10 marks and rest 2 questions would be of 15 marks, which makes it a total of 50. How much time you would get? You would get 90 minutes. Again, this is to be typed on your computer using the keyboard. It's not an pen and paper exam. So this is the brief overview which you already would be knowing, but anyways, let us try to recap this. That was the purpose. Now see, earlier when we took session for phase 1 preparation, we very categorically said that no, this is the time to prepare for objective part between the notification and phase 1, and whosoever clears phase 1, their objective preparation would almost be done, except here and there they would have left some parts, but that can be covered now. But the major point that you need to understand, guys, now it's the time to focus on the subjective part. Between phase 1 and phase 2, you need to prepare on the subjective part, because I know many of you would not have attempted any subjective question till phase 1. So it's right time now to practice for descriptive part before phase 2. And I mean, there is no need of saying how much importance is being given to descriptive now. 150 out of your 200 total marks in the phase 2 belongs to descriptive part. So please do not ignore this part. I think this should be your main area of preparation, and this does not require as in extensive effort. If you can be regular, if you can write on regular basis, if you can express yourself on regular basis, this can be done. Now, some learnings from past that I would like to share. Now what we have seen is that phase 2 in NABARD grade A has always lot of questions from the topic that are asked in phase 1. That is what historically has been proved. So based upon that, whatever has been asked in phase 1 in ESI and ARD, whatever areas, you should read them for phase 2 if you have not read them earlier, right? I'll give you some examples how questions in the phase 1, I mean how the areas from the question is phase 1 has led to the questions from the same area in phase 2. So this is from your last paper of NABARD grade A. Which type of ecosystem in India has the richest alluvial soil in with adequate water? So this is a question on alluvial soil, and in phase 2 they again asked a question for which the answer was alluvial soil, that which type of soil occupy the maximum area in India. So same area here, right? You can say here alluvial soil, alluvial soil. Then another question which was repeated in phase 2 from phase 1. Which of the following breeds of sheep is famous for finest carpet wool? Right. So here the answer was Chokla, and the same question was again asked in phase 2. So this is, I'm just giving you example, as you know, you have that bent of mind that whatever has been covered in phase 1, rather whatever has been asked in phase 1 of NABARD grade A this year, you should definitely cover those areas for phase 2. For example, this year there were some questions on articles of constitution. For example, it was asked like, no, in 8th schedule how many languages are there. Then I think there was a question on which article abolishes child labor. So some questions related to constitution has been asked, so you should try to read all the major articles of constitution. For example, related to development of children, there is article 38. Then for free education, I think up to 6 years, there is article 45. So there are many important articles which are related to your topics: education, health, poverty, right? All these things. So please go through them. This can be a good idea to avoid any unexpected questions in the exam. Then there was a question on NRLM. In phase 1, you should read NRLM in detail, which many people do not read. There was a question on financial stability report, right? So maybe you can cover the summary of financial stability report quickly, right? For example, there was a question on male goat that is capable of breeding. So read all about goats. There can be question from that static part in ARD. So the idea I'm trying to give is that go through your phase 1 questions very carefully from whatever area they have been asked. Please cover that area, right, for your preparation for phase 2. This should be your first step. Do not leave any area of question that has been asked in phase 1. Now coming to the time division. How should you try to manage your time for phase 2? Now, what I think is you need to contribute daily 6 hours. Now, many of you would be working, say, we can't contribute 6 hours. You might be able to say contribute 3 to 4 hours only, but then try to put more time on weekends. Try to take some leaves if you're not able to manage it. Maybe you can take a week's leave, right? These 25 days are going to define where you go up in your career. So do not leave anything to chance. So ये 6 hours we have to spend anyways, right? Unless and until you are thoroughly prepared already, then maybe even 2 hours of preparation is fine. Now, how to divide these 2 hours? My point of view is that in ARD you need to spend 2.5 hours. Why? Again, this plan, this time division would be customized as per your needs, but I feel most of the students have not read ARD to that extent that they should have read. You might be able to clear phase 1, but in phase 2, I mean, every mark will count. Top 500 will fight for those 100 odd seats. So here you can't take chances. So if you have not read ARD with that zeal, with that scope, try to cover it now by spending 2 to 2.5 hours. ESI static, I don't think there is much need of spending more time. Maybe zero point 0.5 hours a day will also do the trick, right? You would have read the necessary topics like inflation, monetary policy, fiscal policy, balance of payment, all that. Now you need to read social issues if you would not have read, like poverty, malnutrition, urbanization, migration, health and education. But all these are not to be read from very in-depth perspective. You need to read it from an essay perspective. All these topics are like social issues. You should know what is the present status, why this is being discussed, what are the problems, what are the challenges, what are the reforms that have taken place, what are the further solutions that can be implemented. All that you need to know about these topics. So that is not a big deal. Reports and schemes, I would suggest you spend 1.5 hours. This is again something very, very important, right? And within these 1.5 hours, you would also be required to read the magazine part, right, in these 1.5 hours. But I think this is already done. You would have extensively prepared for reports, schemes and magazines while for your phase 1. So that is what you need to revise. Then descriptive part, I would suggest you spend 2 hours daily. It is very, very mandatory for you to use these 2 hours very productively, because this is going to define whether you clear or whether you not clear. Now, as I said, this is customizable. Customize as per your needs. If you have done ARD static already, you are thorough with that, then maybe you can use this time to read ESI static, say 1 hour out of this 2.5 hours. Rest you can say give it to descriptive part. So that depends upon you. But these are the areas that you need to cover: ARD static, ESI static, reports and schemes, and descriptive part. So based on my experience, that what students have read till now, I'm trying to give you a generic time division that might be applicable for most of you. Now coming to the ARD static part, guys, right? If you see, if you see phase one paper, that was totally on expected lines. They have asked questions from the expected topics. Animal husbandry 3 questions, soil 5 questions, irrigation 2, agronomy 2, horticulture and plantation 2, fisheries 3, agrometeorology 1. So all these are important chapters that we have been saying you again and again. For phase 2 also, you should focus on these chapters, but if you have time, because anyways 50-60% of your preparation is already done, right, for phase 1, that will be common to phase 2. So if you have time apart from these chapters, try to cover other chapters also, but these are the one you should be prioritizing first. And as I told you, whatever areas in this chapter that has been asked in phase 1, they are even more important for phase 2 than other areas in these chapters that you must go through, right? Then ESI static, I don't think you need to put in too much time unless you have completely ignored ESI static for phase 1, but I hope you would have read something. So even in phase 1, you could see, I mean, questions were from expected topics, like there was a question on inflation, there was a question on fiscal deficit, there was a question on balance of payment. So these 4 or 5 chapters are always asked in the objective part. There were some questions from social issues also. I think minimum and maximum age for child marriage act and all those things. But then also they were very basic questions. Right. There were few unexpected questions, right? Like on Public Accounts Committee, 2 questions on Constitution, like number of languages in our 8th schedule, and which article abolishes child labor. So these questions you might not be knowing, right? But again, as I told you, much cannot be done regarding these areas. If you had not done it for phase 1, at least do them for phase 2. That is my advice. But otherwise, for ESI static, for objective part, whatever you have read till now, that should be sufficient. For subjective part, read it from subjective orientation, especially the social issues part. And when you read the social issues part, I mean, it's not something very conceptual. Just read it like a editorial, that you are reading an editorial on social issues. For example, you are reading an editorial on poverty, right? So what is the background, why poverty in India is not getting eradicated, what are the problems, what are the steps that have been taken in the past, why they have no still not yielded result, what are the future steps that government is planning to take, what can be a good way ahead. You can give some out of the box suggestions. So I think that is the way you can easily finish one chapter of social issues even if you read it for 1 hour, right? So that should not be a big deal if you have not read them, but still I would say that here the time is not much. It's negligible that you are required to contribute. If you say contribute say zero point 0.5 hours here, even if you right contribute zero point 0.5 hours here, then you need to adjust it here by contributing 2 hours here instead of 2.5 hours. That can be your only customization that you can done. Then coming to reports and schemes. Now schemes in your phase 1 were very much on expected lines, and schemes in NABARD has always more weightage than reports. So schemes should be the first thing that you should be revising for phase 2. I hope you would have already done them. In case not, in case you are not satisfied with your preparation for schemes for phase 1, you need to do it on a better line. Then the mantra is that no, read or revise whatever you want to do if you have read it earlier, the schemes in news. If you see the schemes that have been asked in phase 1 this year, like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Kisan Credit Scheme, NRLM, these are not new schemes that are launched recently, but they have always been news. So the schemes in news becomes the order of the day, and schemes in news which are in news for last 6-9 months that you need to read, and the best source for that is SchemeStep. Here we cover all the schemes that are in news for past 6 to 9 months, right? And it's a very doable document, just 20, 25, 30 pages per month. So you must go through them as your first priority, and after you are done with SchemeStep, if you have time, whatever schemes are given in SchemeStep, then you can read them in the main scheme document. Right? Because in SchemeStep, what we are giving is, we are giving them on a summarized basis. They are not detailed, but still they cover 60 to 70% of the required part. But after reading SchemeStep, if you have time, you can go through the main scheme document. People who are doing self preparation, again, they should try to find the schemes which are in news, either in the newspaper, in the media, or on the PIB, and try to cover those respective schemes from the respective websites, right? And anyways, these schemes are very, very important. I'm not saying these are the only important schemes, but every year I see questions from these schemes in the exam. Priority sector lending, NRM, NRLM, लीड बैंक स्कीम, किसान क्रेडिट स्कीम एंड इंटरेस्ट सब्सिडी स्कीम. ये तो आपने करके ही करके जानी है, कुछ भी हो जाए. इसको तो मतलब इन लीविंग दिस की 5 schemes, leaving these 5 schemes will be like you are doing a crime, right? Even in phase 1 we have seen there was a question on PSL and NRLM and Kisan credit scheme, right? So out of these 5, 3 schemes contributed to the questions even in phase 1. Every year they ask a questions from these 2 or 3 schemes that are on your screen, right? So that is the way to prepare for schemes. But if you have already prepared for phase 1, right, and you have done schemes extensively, I don't think you need to put in much effort. So that should be an easy thing for you. For reports, again, I would say not much reports were asked in phase 1, but whatever was asked was more or less on expected lines. So you need to read reports by national and international organizations, right? International organizations can be IMF, World Bank, UNESCO, UNICEF, Indian International Monetary Fund, IMF, right? Then Niti Aayog, then report by Indian national organizations such as report by NABARD, report by RBI. All this becomes very, very important. RBI annual report, though we think is not important, but they can ask questions from this, right? Last year also there were many questions related to finance in NABARD grade A paper 2, that is ESI and ARD. So please do not ignore RBI annual report also. Just go through a summary for that and that should be sufficient. Coming back to national and international organizations, and when you read these reports, read them related to syllabus, guys. For example, there is a report by a national or international organization on gender gap, poverty. All these becomes very, very important because they are related to your syllabus. On the other hand, if there is a report on political turmoil in India, or say defense programs in India, that is not that important because it is not directly related to your syllabus, right? So in your course, we have given a monthly reports document in which we cover all these reports which are released by national and international organizations. So you can go for that. In case you are doing self preparation, then you need to search for these reports, but you should definitely read reports for last 6 to 9 months. Then financial reports, right now, financial stability report. Last year, if I remember, in 2020 when the exam was held, there was a question on risk fraud framework that was given in RBI annual report. There were 3 questions on that risk fraud framework. There was some risk fraud framework released by RBI. So therefore, current affairs related to finance, please do not no leave them completely. Just try to have a basic understanding. And financial stability report, as it has been asked in phase 1, so I hope it becomes important for phase 2 and we can just read the summary of it. Apart from that, these are very, very important: SECC census, handloom census, agri census, livestock census, budget economic survey. These though you have to do mandatorily, right? And when we talk about covering all these census and budget and economic survey, summary is enough because these reports are very, very big. If you try to cover these reports cover to cover, it would be impossible. It's like these will become subjects in themselves that you will not be able to cover. So summary is enough. I'll give you an example. In phase 1 there was a question, right, that as per agri census, what is the size of operational holding of small farmers? Now if you see the summary highlights of agri census, this table is clearly given everywhere. From which this question can be solved, that the size of small land holdings is between 1 hectare to 2 hectare. So that is why I am saying summary or highlights are enough. They do not drill down to the actual reports in detail to ask you questions. That might be possible also, they can ask, but you don't have time to read to such extent. Let's not think about that. If that comes, we can leave it. Most of you will leave it, right? At the end of the day, it is relative. So we have to do these reports, but summary is enough. Do not try to drill down to such details that you start wasting your time, right? And I told you NABARD annual report and RBI annual report are very, very important. NABARD annual report is anyways important for your subjective part also. Lot of relevant information is given there that using that you can write some really good descriptive answers. I'll discuss about this when I come to the descriptive part. Right. So till here, when we talk about ARD static, ESI static, and reports and schemes, this is a territory you have already, right, experienced while preparing for phase one. Most of you may not require even to spend this much time. They can even spend 1 hour just to revise whatever they have done in case they have already thoroughly prepared this part. So that depends upon you. But the next part, this descriptive part, right, this is really important. This is, I'm sure most of you would not have practiced anything till now, so it's high time we start practicing it. And if you see the syllabus, guys, it is clearly mentioned that questions may be asked on current latest developments, right, under the subject, although those topics may not have been specifically included in the syllabus. So they have kept it open ended by mentioning that questions can be asked related to current or latest developments that might not be specifically given in the syllabus, right? So in descriptive part also the questions can be open ended, to which there might not be any direct answer, but still you can write your answer from whatever knowledge you have. Be prepared for that. Most of the people think in a descriptive part, if the question is direct, they are able to write it immediately, but if it is little tweaked, I mean, they just like, no, they just become tense and they are not able to proceed. So I think the main I would say that is the main talent lies in that even if you don't know, you write, because you have read so much. Ultimately you should be able to relate at least something. You should be able to relate at least something, right, to that question, and you should be able to frame a good question. So in case there is some indirect question, read it 2 3 times, try to think what the author is asking. You will always have knowledge to answer that from the data points, from the content you would have read during your preparation. Now in descriptive part, I am basically asking you to focus on three aspects: content, art of writing, and actually writing, right? Because art is something that can be taught to you, but you cannot master it unless and until you practice it. So first we should have content to write, then we should have skills, the art of writing, and we can master this art only through writing, right? So when I say you need to spend 2 hours here, right, I'm saying you spent around 1 to 1.5 hours on the content daily. Art of writing is not a big deal. You can learn the basics within, say, 3 4 hours. There are some videos on art of writing that I'll tell you later in this video. Once you have watched this, I mean, this is finished, then you need to practice that. So need to write at least zero point 0.5 for 5.5 hours daily. That is must. In case you are thinking that I'll not write, I'm not saying you will not clear, but it might become very challenging, because in the exam you might realize that if I would have practiced, maybe I would have given a better performance. So first let us talk about the content. In content part, ES and ARD, right? I'm first talking about the descriptive part related to ES and ARD. Then we will talk about descriptive English later. So in the descriptive part for ES and ARD, how to prepare the content. First of all, in your course, we have given the fodder material. Fodder material is nothing but it basically has analytical points related to every topic. May it be animal husbandry, may it be soil and water irrigation, may it be agrometeorology. For every topic, there is a fodder material in which we discuss like what, when, how, what is the way ahead. Right. For example, we in this fodder material we would be discussing what are the present problems, what are the reforms that have been taken in the past, why those reforms are not worked, what are the further challenges to handle that problem, what is the way forward that can be implemented to, you know, eradicate that problem or to handle that problem. So we analytically analyze every topic in this fodder material that can be really useful to you from your descriptive point of view, right? And guys who are preparing on their self, if they don't have access to fodder material, what they can do is they can take up every topic, say animal husbandry, then try to search on internet, right, that what are the challenges in animal husbandry, what are the reforms, what are the various schemes that are running in animal husbandry, what are the further challenges that no industry see, uh, what can be the way forward to tackle those challenges or problems, that you can search on internet if you are doing self preparation. But in the fodder material of the courses, this has been already done by us, so you just need to read. Apart from reading the fodder material, I would suggest that read the editorials, right, in the newspapers. Hindu is a very good newspaper, you can follow that. And when you read the editorials, read them related to syllabus. Now if there is a editorial on political turmoil in Punjab, I think that is of not much use to you, right? But if there is editorial on why India has not been able to eradicate poverty even after say 60 70 years of independence, then it becomes really important to you because poverty in your syllabus. So when you read editorials, do not start reading any editorial. Try to read editorials which are related to your syllabus. As I say, Hindu is a very good newspaper. Then Krishi Jagran, which is a website, right, or it's a newspaper also. So you can use this. There are very good articles related to agriculture here, right? So this is again one thing. Editorials anyways you need to read because that will help you long way in getting selected in this exam. Then have some data points ready. When I say data points, for example, you have some data points ready on poverty from some report, or from on gender gap from some report. If you have if you have read a report on gender gap and you know that no, in India there is a disparity, still 60% of people are not given due for working in the household, so there might be some data related to that. So you need to collate that data topic wise. So for every topic in your syllabus, collate some data points based upon some reports or schemes. If there is a topic irrigation, animal husbandry, then try to find out some good schemes or some analytical data given in some reports on that topic. And when I talk about data, now I'm not talking about exact figures for descriptive part. You can have only rough idea. If the exact percentage is say around 34.8%, you can just remember that near about 30 to 35%, right, is this. So in descriptive, when you write, you need not write exact data. Even the approximate figures can give you some good marks. And when you write about any data in your descriptive part, always mention the source. That as per economic survey, as per budget, as per gender disparity report by United Nations. Always mention that source so that examiner gets the credibility for the data, right? And apart from that, you need to read Kurukshetra and Yojana magazine, right? Yojana magazine is very good for rural initiatives. Just go through them. Summary of Yojana magazine is also available on the internet. So if you want to know about rural initiatives, rural industry, rural programs that are being run by the government or the states, I mean, Yojana is the best magazine for that. Then economic survey, budget, NABARD annual report, agri census is must for the descriptive part. From these reports, you will get a lot of data that can be used to give some data points in your descriptive answer, whether it is ESI or ARD. And please make some rough notes for recall. Descriptive is not about only understanding, you need to recall. So for every topic, just make rough notes, 1 page notes. Say you have read animal husbandry, what are various types of animal husbandry techniques, right? Then from the descriptive part, problems, solutions, challenges, all these. Just 1 page rough notes for recall, because that will ultimately help you in revision. Right. Sounds very difficult to implement at this stage, but trust me, it is not going to be difficult. Fodder material for one chapter can be read in say just in half an hour or 1 hour. Right. Editorials can be read in 15 minutes. So it's not something I'm asking you to read a book. It's all about being consistent, and if you are being consistent, you will be able to cover this. So with this, you will be able to have very good, no, data points in your mind. There would be very good analytical perspective in your mind with respect to every topic that will give you clarity as you know how to approach a particular question. Then it comes about art of writing. You have the content, but everybody will have content. Writing is an art which cannot be learned over a night. It takes you continuous practice. Even 25 days I would say is less to master this art of writing. But first of all, let us try to learn the rules of this art of writing. So you should must know that how to write a good intro, body, conclusion, how to form a structure, how to link different parts of your answer. So for this also we have given you around 4 or 5 videos in the course in which we have completely described the art of writing, right? तो आपको ये बहुत अच्छे से करनी है, but this is a one time task. Maybe watch them 2 3 times to get a hang of it, right? Then possible evaluation parameters. You should have in your mind some possible evaluation parameters that examiner might be checking. Now this is very subjective. What what point of view examiner will have, what kind of things he will have he will be looking in your answer. But still there are some, I would say, universal points. If you can stick to them, if you can perform well on that, you will always get at least good marks. So from the perspective of introduction, your introduction should be relevant, it should be concise, it should be linking to the body. Then from the point of view of body being good, your content in the body should be good. Good content means a lot of facts or examples should be given. It should have a proper structure, right? And as I told you, example and reports will make your content good. Then how do you make a good conclusion? Conclusion should be synthesis of what you have written. It should not be just summary. Your solution in the conclusion, if any, should always be optimistic. So these are some points. We will try to come up with a different video, right, on the art of writing, where we will describe how to write a good intro, body, or conclusion. But for now, what you shall keep in mind is that learning the rules of writing, right, learning overall that how one can write a good answer is very, very important before you proceed to actual writing. So this is the area where you will be learning this, and then it will be about writing. So you have learned the content, you have learned the rules of writing, the art of writing, but unless and until you practice it, you will never be able to do that. Right. Content you might skip for one day if you are feeling sleepy, if you want to go out. But writing, I would say that these 0.5 hours, these half an hour, is something that you should never miss for the next 25 to 30 days till your exam. The foremost thing is, do not wait, procrastinate. Right after watching this video, try to write 2 answers. You will not be able to write, but then that is the agenda of writing the first answer, that you get to know that I am not able to write. I need to practice more on this. We hesitate to write because we feel that we are not ready to write. But that is the purpose of writing. We want you to get into writing so that the hesitation goes away and you come out with something great, that at the end of those 25 days you feel that even if I'm not an expert, at least I can write good. And when you write, the word write is a misnomer here. You should type. Type where? In the notepad. Right. And you should daily type, at least for 4 days in a week, you should daily write one answer of 10 marks and one answer of 15 marks. Right. You can keep switching between ES and ARD, that doesn't matter, right? Because here the main thing is to practice writing. So one answer of 10 marks, one answer of 15 marks, 4 days in a week you shall always be writing without any break in between. We don't know the word limit. What shall be the word limit that we should be keeping in mind for now? I think since most of the pattern that NABARD has gone with, they have copied the RBI grade B pattern. So I think they are also going to go ahead with the word limit what was there for RBI, 400 words for 10 marker and 600 words for 15 marker. Though it is not official what would be the exact word limit, but I think now since we do not have any benchmark, we can assume that whatever was there in RBI grade B, the same would be here. 400 words for 10 marker and 600 words for 15 marker. And when you write, always try to write within a time limit. What shall be the time limit? Right, you have to attempt 4 questions in 90 minutes there. So that is almost like 15 to 17 minutes for 10 marker and 20 to 22 minutes for 15 marker. Right. So by doing this, say if you spend 22 minutes for 15 marker, it would be 44. Right, I'll write here, it would be 44. And if you spend say 17 minutes for 10 marker, it would be 34. So it would be 78 minutes. We are being given 90 minutes, so the rest 10 to 12 minutes I would say that keep for revision in your exam, to cross check whether there are any grammatical or spelling mistakes. Right. So for now, when you write, do not try to break your time thinking that you will have 90 minutes. Just think you will have 80 minutes, because last 10 minutes is for cross checking. So 10 marker around 15 to 17 minutes, 15 marker around 20 to 22 minutes, right? And at the end of writing these questions, always spend 1-2 minutes, right? Say 2 minutes per question for correcting grammatical and spelling mistakes. This shall become a habit in you before you proceed to the actual exam. There shall not be any spelling and grammatical mistake. I think that would be a sin. They would definitely be having a software, because they come out for the results within 10 to 15 days. To check so much copies in 10 to 15 days is almost like next to impossible, I would say. So they would have certainly spelling and grammatical mistake as a parameter, and there would be a software which would be showing that how many grammatical and spelling mistake are there. So by doing those grammatical and spelling mistake, you are making the task of the examiner easy, right? Because the examiner has a tendency to find mistakes, to ensure that no, he's not ignoring something which is wrong. And if you are doing mistakes which are catchable by the software, you are making the life easier for the examiner, right? So follow these time limit and do check your answers before finally closing them. Then how to go about evaluation? How do you know that whether my answers written are good or not? First is, when you constantly practice, I think 60 to 70% of the job can be done by self evaluation. Over a period of time, you will realize you are starting writing good. Form study groups for evaluation. Study groups, I think, has a huge importance. When I interview candidates who get selected, most of them have studied in groups, right? They have one or two friends who are helping them out. So form study groups for evaluation, right? You can take feedback from your friends. You can give them feedback, because it's not like only experts can give you feedback. At the same time, faculty shall also be helping you in limited test, right? So in the paid courses, the tests would be evaluated, and we will try to come up with initiatives for the students who are not part of our paid courses to at least evaluate something for that. We shall be doing, but from faculty side, it shall be limited. When you're writing answers on daily basis, I want each of your answers to be evaluated within that study group. You can do that, right? And do not forget to evaluate your grammatical or spelling mistakes by yourself. That can be easily done. Just copy your answer on grammarly.com, right? And it can be easily found out that how many spelling or grammatical mistakes you have done. So there should not be any confusion about that. How do I self-evaluate with respect to grammatical and spelling mistakes? I think if you can do this, you can work on your content part, you can learn the rules of or the art of writing, and you can practice writing continuously for next 25 to 30 days by spending half an hour per day, right? I think you will be at least at that level where you will feel that you are giving your best, and that is what matters. Now, if I talk about the type of questions that can be asked in ESI and ARD descriptive part, say, there can be very simple questions like, what are various sources of irrigation in India? What are the main problems in irrigation management? That is a very standard type of question where from the theory you would be able to answer what are various sources of irrigation in India, and from your fodder material or from your material where you have collaborated the analytical points, you will be able to answer what are the main problems in irrigation management, right? Similarly, there can be a question like, what are the various methods of animal husbandry? Discuss their advantages and disadvantages, right? This is also not something which is really difficult. It can be easily answered. But then there can be some indirect questions also. What are the reformative steps taken by the government to make food grain distribution system more effective? Right. I'm not saying it is difficult, but it's of a moderate level where you need to define the reforms that has been taken by the government, and you may also include that what has been their impact, whether they have been able to achieve their target or not, and in the way, if not, you can mention the way forward. So basically these questions from this part of your syllabus, right? Soil and water conservation, water resource, farm and agri engineering, plantation and horticulture, animal husbandry. I've just tried to give some examples. But then there is a second part of your syllabus, right? Of ESI and ARD. I'm particularly talking about ARD now, uh, where no this part, if you see, present scenario in Indian agriculture, recent trends, major challenges, factors of production in agriculture, agriculture, finance and marketing, impact of globalization on Indian agriculture, issues of food security, concept and types of farm management. Now, this chapter, if you see, guys, I mean, it's a very open-ended chapter. Anything can be asked from these. I mean, every line, agriculture, finance, and marketing, is a chapter in itself. So every set of words has a very wide meaning. And then if you come to rural development again, concept of rural India, structure of Indian rural economy, importance and role of rural sector in India, all these are very open-ended topics. It's just like social issues in ESI. So from here, the questions can be, for example, from Panchayati Raj, they can ask, the success of Panchayati Raj depends upon the meaningful participation of people at the grassroots level. Examine. Now, this is not an easy question. This is not a direct question. This is not a question that what are the different pillars of Panchayati Raj institutions, which you can easily answer. The success of Panchayati Raj depends upon the meaningful participation of the people at grassroots level. Examine. These kind of questions, you will never have any direct questions, but you can always write using the knowledge you have, provided you have practiced already. Because with that practice, you will learn that art. That whenever you don't know the direct answer, still you can frame an answer in such a way that no, it will look that you have written a decent answer. Similarly, explain the contemporary agriculture scenario in context of rapid urbanization in India. Now, this question, I bet many of you would not be able to answer the understand the question itself. That explain the contemporary agriculture scenario in the context of rapid urbanization in India. Many of you would not know what to write in this question. So that is why it's very important that you try writing these indirect questions. Develop that habit of attempting these indirect questions, develop that habit of understanding these indirect questions, then in the exam you will not feel the pain whenever such question will be asked. Right. So from this part, I feel that some really challenging questions can be put in, especially the 15 markers. Apart from that, I don't think in ARD they will ask you very tough questions, especially since the pattern has changed, and this is the first time after the pattern change the exam is being held. Similarly, if you go for economic and social issues, right, they can ask you, say, role of demography in India's economic transition, which is a very direct question. You explain about Indian demography, how it has been advantageous to India, right, how India has gained from it, and then you can always put the other side of the coin also, that how India maybe has not been able to realize the right potential, still more to do in that. That depends upon you. Then the next question, which seems easy but it's not that easy, say it can be as define the various measures of poverty estimation and their demerits and merits in terms of per capita income, inflation and consumption and safety net. So various measures of poverty estimation, this can be easily explained, but when it is about analyzing these measures, right, in terms of per capita income, inflation, consumption and safety net, it might be challenging. You might have not read these on direct lines, so there you need to apply your mind and write at least something about these points. So what I'm trying to say is that questions would be direct, some would be indirect. So it is about how much you practice about those indirect questions. That is, whenever you don't know, still you are able to write. That is the key here. Right. Apart from that, in descriptive writing, I think you must attempt all the PYQs of ESI that has been asked in the previous RBI papers, right? In your course, chapter wise, we have included all those questions, PYQs from ESI. So please go through it. I'm sure it is going to be really useful. And if you attempt all these previous year questions of ESI from RBI grade B, I think you will be easily able to attempt the questions that would be there in NABARD grade A also. Then for ARD, we don't have any previous year questions because ARD is not there in RBI grade B. But I think there are a lot of questions of ARD that has been asked in UPSC, GS3 and geography optional. So these questions are not that difficult. If you read these questions, you will feel you can even attempt that. So try to go through those questions. We will try to provide you these questions, right? We have collated some questions. So give us some time and we will share these questions, that is PYQs of ARD from UPSC, GS3 and geography optional. You can attempt those also, right? You can practice those also. Then for English descriptive, right? Please try to do all the PYQs, that is the previous year papers that have been asked in RBI, SEBI and NABARD. We have already that on our website. In the description of this video, the link of this previous year English descriptive papers is given. You can go and you can attempt these papers, right? So these previous year papers for ESI questions from RBI grade B, ARD from UPSC, GS3 and geography optional, and English descriptive for RBI, SEBI and NABARD of the past years are really going to helpful to you. Now coming to the descriptive English part, guys. I think there is some problem. Just yeah. So coming to the descriptive English part, guys. So descriptive English, we have discussed it various times, right? So first of all, you need to learn the technicalities of writing an essay, as in how to write a good intro, body and conclusion in an essay, how to write a précis, should we write a title in précis or not, whether précis is a summary or there is a difference between summary and a précis, right? how to write a comprehension. Should we write in our own words or should we just copy it from whatever is given there? Letter writing, the format, and no technicalities of letter writing and report writing. All these you should must go through. This is the first step, right? And 2 days in a week, 4 days in a week for descriptive writing. I'm asking you to write answers for ESI and ARD. 2 days in a week you should practice on descriptive English. So here you type in Notepad, right? Whatever editorials you have read, try to write them in form of an essay, or try to type them in form of a précis, whatever you feel, right? Or maybe write a letter or a report, whatever you feel, right? So type in Notepad, right? Do not write on your copy. And if you are writing it from editorial or something which you have read, then do not write it immediately after reading, right? Wait for 3 days. If you have read an editorial, wait for 3 days before you type it in the Notepad, because if we write it immediately, it's just a test of our memory, how much we remember line by line. If we write it after 3 days, it's a test of our understanding. When you write within a time limit and a word limit, right? You will get 90 minutes to attempt 3 questions. So it can be, say, 40 minutes for essay, say, and 30 or 20, something like that, for other two things respectively. That depends upon you, right? So essay, maybe you practice using, say, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever you feel, because it depends upon the word limits also, which keeps on changing. Word limit would be somewhere between 250 to 400 words. I would suggest that write 300 words, sometimes change it to 400 words, sometimes change it to 250 words. That depends upon you. But the time limit can be 30 minutes, can be 40 minutes, depending upon how do you want to strategize in the actual exam. Précis is normally asked to be written in 170 words, right? So you can use, say, 20-25 minutes for Précis to type it. The idea what I'm giving is that write within the time limit and within the word limit, because if you practice these two things now, you will become so habitual to that you will not find problem in sticking to that in the exam. Checking your grammatical mistakes using grammarly.com, that I explained you in the descriptive part for ES and ARD also. And do practice on letter writing and report writing. Please remember, I mean, in RBI or SEBI, letter writing and report writing has never been asked, but in NABARD, letter writing and report writing has been asked in the past. So you need to practice on these also. Do not just forget to attempt letter writing and report writing. And preferred sequence of attempt. Now it depends upon what is asked, but say Précis, comprehension and essay is asked. Now, depending upon my conversation with a lot of people, what I've learned is mostly people do Précis first, comprehension second, and essay third. The reason is that if they write essay first and it takes a lot of time, then it really creates a panic situation for them. And in comprehension, if they are not able to say one or two questions, they directly lose 5 or 10 marks, because for what they have not attempted, they would anyways get 0. So they first write Précis and comprehension, because here it depends on what is given in the comprehension. You have to read it, then you have to type it also. In essay, anyways, even if you have less time, right, you can conclude your essay. You can write your essay in such a way that, no, say you ideally wanted to write in 40 minutes, but given 30 minutes, you still would be able to write a good essay, because it's a one chunk of a question. Even if you say do not write 2-3 points which you were wanting to write, that does not create much difference, because examiner doesn't know that it was in your mind. So that is the preferred sequence as per selected students, but you can have your own strategy. Many people write essay first because they feel it is 40 marks and it can create a good impression. So that totally depends upon you, right? And what about mock tests, guys? Mock tests are very, very important. Now, when I've talked about descriptive writing, I've said 4 days for ES and ARD and 2 days for descriptive English. Sundays I have kept free. Sundays are for mock tests. You should at least give 2 full-length mock tests, right, on Sunday, and this should be in real-time environment. This should be in real-time environment. Real-time environment means that you should be sitting for these papers back to back as it will happen in the real exam. That is 90 minutes for English, then 120 minutes for ES and ARD. So that is a total sitting of 3.5 hours. Sometimes we are not in habit of so much sitting that in actual exam we really feel exhausted, we really feel less on energy, and we are not able to give our best. So at least 2 FLTs you should be giving, right? I think you will have 2 or 3 Sundays out of that. 2 Sundays should be attributed to your mock test. Try to analyze after the mock test what went wrong, what you can improve in your strategy. We shall also be organizing some mock test, right? So we shall also be organizing some mock test on these lines, where there would be back-to-back test for paper 1 and paper 2. For RBI also we organize Big Daddy mock test. So for NABARD also we shall be organizing something on these lines where all India students can compete. Apart from FLTs, I have already told you that you should practice answer writing on daily basis. So that is like no sectional mock test for you. And for objective also give as many sectional tests, maybe subject wise, chapter wise, whatever you want. But no, FLTs are different. Two FLTs shall anyways be attempted by you. So overall, this is the strategy. These are, I would not say no exact plan, but these are the points. These are some of the inputs that you should take into account while planning your preparation. The preparation needs to be strategized by you as per your needs. It needs to be customized by you as per your needs. But these basic points should always be remembered, as in how to progress, how to properly plan my preparation. Two more points that you should keep into account is what I have come to learn from the aspirants who have recently cleared RBI. One is keyboards. When we practice writing, keyboard is a very big factor. Do not type on your laptop, because the keyboards that you are given there are not that sophisticated. They are old type keyboards. Big keys, tuck, 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 sound will come in. So use keyboards, the old style keyboards. Try different type of keyboards, 3 to 4 keyboards you can buy. It hardly cost 200, 300 for a keyboard, because that will no that will make you confident that I can handle any type of keyboard. And second is, some people really feel disturbed in the descriptive paper because a lot of sound of typing comes in the room. So for that, if you want to simulate that, you can go on YouTube and you can search for something like no keyboard sound. So there would be some video or some sound video there which will kind of no give you keyboard sound. So you can just use that to acclimatize yourself with the actual keyboard sound that there would be in the examination hall, right? So these are the two extra points that you can use for descriptive part. And I wish you luck for your preparation strategy. And my last advice would be that even if you feel 30-40% chance of clearing phase 1, start your preparation now. Time is very precious, right? And we shall not waste it, because if you clear phase 1, for which the results say will come in next 7-8 days, these 7-8 days lost will never be coming again to you, right? So that is my last advice to you guys. Best of luck, have a nice day, and do come out with flying colors. Bye bye.